Broadcasting from the Ante Up studio, it's the longest-running poker podcast for the everyday poker player with your host, Joe Scale.
Hello, A-Team. It's Friday, January 27th, and this is the second full episode since I took over the hosting duties for Ante Up. Thank you to everyone that listened to last week's episode. I got some great feedback from people, and believe me, it's not lost on me that I have some big shoes to fill. But my goal each week is to bring you a show that's a little bit better than the week before. That's a whole lot easier to do if you guys let me know what you like or don't like. So, if you have some feedback on the show, send it to me. You can always email the show at podcast@anteupmagazine.com, or you can post your thoughts in the Ante Up fans Facebook page as well. With all that said, let's get on with the show.
Find out what conversations are happening around the poker table with Table Talk.
Here I am back around the table with Mike. Welcome back, Mike. How you doing?
Oh, Joe, thank you. I'm glad to be back, and I'm glad we're back for another show. Hopefully got some of the bugs worked out from last week. I'm ready just to chat for a little while. A lot of things, poker going on, a little bit of everywhere, but mostly just trying to sit around and talk to you for a while and heal.
And heal from what?
Yeah, old age, man. I get up and it creaks. I need some WD-40 or something, my wife said. So. Hey, some of the things I wanted to discuss today. I mean, you know, the Thunder Valley WSOP circuit event kind of blew right by us here, and now they're wrapping it up. It's probably been their most successful event yet, or circuit event yet. Bilgan Ogerel, and I hope I didn't butcher his name too bad. I apologize if I did, sir. Won the main event for $195,000 plus. Well, it was his first WSOP circuit ring. Hey, Bilgan.
Man, it's always special when it's your first one like that, right?
Oh, Lord. I guess when I win my first one, I'll go, whoo, I don't know what I'll do. But I will buy you a drink. How's that?
I'll take it.
Yeah, drinks are on me that night. You know, that 12-day stop saw big turnouts for the whole series and finished with a strong 679 entry for the $1,700 main event. That main event more than doubled the guarantee that the casino had set out. It doubled it up, and that was something that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's so awesome.
And guess what else happened?
What?
The voice of WSOP, Lon McGarren, won his first circuit ring in the $400 seniors event. Give me some applause.
Wow.
Nice. Yes.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I'm so happy for Thunder Valley too. We've all said it's a great property out there, and I'm so glad this was a huge success for them. I know I've mentioned this at one point or another, but it seems like a great place to mention it again. We do have an Ante Up Poker Stop happening out there. We're still working on the exact dates for it, but we'll have that announcement coming soon too. Speaking of championships, though, I don't know if you saw that PokerGo Cup was going on, but they crowned a champion this week. Carrie Katz won the $50,000 championship bonus.
Nice going, brother. Nice going.
The amazing thing to me, he managed to win the whole event without ever getting a first place. He had 4 final tables. He cashed 5 times over 8 events, which is incredible, but never got a first.
Guess what? He just got the points.
Yeah, so he had 460 points. Closest one to him, second place was 454, so he edged it out by 6 points there.
Holy cow. That was fairly close right there.
Yeah, and this is a field that is tough. So congratulations to him for getting through that. I mean, when you've got Eric Seidel that's bringing up the 10th spot on, that's a field right there.
Absolutely. That's something right there. It says a whole lot.
Speaking of PokerGo, Daniel Negreanu, he finished in the money in event number 7, which put him over the top of $50 million in live tournament earnings.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Way to
I want to
go,
say he finished.
Daniel. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I want to say he finished in third place, but I'm not 100% sure about that. But yeah, I mean, that puts him right there with Justin Bonomo and Bryn Kenny as the only people that's achieved that. That's incredible.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's absolutely incredible.
I mean, Negreanu's always been really open about his poker earnings, right?
Yep.
Every year he puts out his list of how much he's earned over the years, and even though his total winnings equals $50 million, but it looks like he averages. He put out the list that was since 2013, and his average each year over that time is almost $1.5 million. So
Holy
that's
smoke.
running good right there.
Oh yeah, wouldn't that be the life? Let me throw something out there real quick though. It's for this is for us older generation. Um, Gabe Kaplan retired.
Ugh.
Commentator of high stakes poker. Yep, I think he was 77 or is 77. He's been in the booth for 9 seasons. I think you know a lot about the seasons that he was in on. If you want to holler that out to folks, but we'll say his replacement is supposed to be announced. But I believe they've already done it because they've. I don't know if they have or not. I know he retired the 24th at their last
So his last episode.
episode.
Oh, okay. His last episode
Yeah,
aired
yeah,
when?
it was
On the
24th.
24th.
The 24th, which was what 3 days
Yeah.
ago. But season 10 starts next week, I believe, and it's going to they're going to announce his replacement then. But you want to talk about the people he's been with and the other seasons
I
and stuff
mean,
a little bit. Let's give him a little bit of a going out.
I know he did seasons 1 through 5 with AJ Benza, but
Absolutely, he did.
then he had Kara Scott with him for a season.
Yep, that's season 6, I believe.
Then they brought AJ Benza back for 8 and 9, and I think the start of season 10, they were even together. Well, I will say this. I mean, I hope that he's retiring because he's just wanting to retire, and it's not because of health problems or something like that.
Let's hope not.
Wish Gabe all the best. Love hearing his voice.
Absolutely. Gabe, take care of yourself. And anytime that you want to give us a shout out or jump on here, just get in touch with Joe. The phone number's on the site, the email's on the site. Be more than happy to have you on the show just to chat for a little bit, my friend, and enjoy your retirement.
Absolutely. So, one more thing in news that I want to make sure we touch on. We're always talking about getting together and playing some, and we
Yes.
never get together as much as we want. But we've got some casinos opening up here around us. Finally.
Oh yes, absolutely. Virginia said, "Okay, we'll let's us cash now. It's our turn."
We've got Portsmouth that's opened their Rivers Casino, and I'm so excited to see it open.
I just live a little piece from it. If you want to come up and spend the weekend,
Done.
I'm writing. I mean, we could make it to the other one too, Danville.
Yep.
Once Harris gets built up down there,
Yep.
we can. It's either way. 6 one way, half a dozen the other. Let's go.
Exactly. So I played Top Golf for the first time not that long ago, and I am a terrible golfer, first of all, but I had such a good time with it. I'm excited because I was reading what the casino has, and they've got a Top Golf connected to the casino and hotel. I want to go lose all my money in the casino and then hit some golf balls terribly.
Oh, I've got to see that one. I'd love to see you out there.
Take all my frustration out hitting some golf balls.
Hey, I'll bring the whiskey now. That's a good one.
Hey.
Yep. There we go. What the heck? That's about all I got, my friend, for this week.
All right. Well, Mike, I appreciate you joining me with another table talk, and we'll talk next week.
Absolutely. And we'll talk before then, I hope, but definitely next week. And just for you guys out there on the A team, I'd like to say thank you for listening. Adios.
Now it's time for Call the Floor with Elliot Schechter.
Elliot Schechter is the poker room manager for Rivers Casino in Schenectady, New York. He's been the one to give the feedback on the Call the Floor segment for quite some time, and he's back with us again today. How you doing, Elliot?
I'm doing well today, Joe. How you doing?
I am doing very well. I see that you survived that cold stint that came through.
Only barely. Man, it was icy, cold, freezing. It was tough.
Better you than me.
Thanks.
Well, today's Call the Floor segment was sent in by one of my favorite names that we've done so far is Ozzy Morton. And Ozzy says he is in a 1-2 home game. So the player went all in pre-flop and was called by myself and one other. We both had chips behind, so there was still action possible. On the river, I fired a bet and the other player folded. However, I forgot about the all-in player and slid my hand into the muck. The all-in player excitedly says, "His hand is dead, right? It touched the muck." The cards had touched the muck pile, but were still easily identifiable. The ruling at the game was that my hand went into the muck and therefore declared dead. Is that always the rule? Or, if the cards are identifiable, can they still be played? And they say, I think I remember a time in the WSOP when the dealer had grabbed the player to their left's card, and if they could easily identify them, they would be allowed to play. But that may be different if the dealer scooped them rather than putting them there. So what do you think about that?
Ozzy, you were definitely onto something. When trying to determine if cards are live that are not in possession of the player, the standard is identifiable and retrievable. So apparently from what you've described, your cards were both identifiable and retrievable. You could see them clearly and you could take them clearly without them being mixed up with other cards. The concept of death by contact or having a hand declared dead by merely coming into contact with the muck is an antiquated, outdated, and now completely unused standard that is not used in any live game, as far as I know. The identifiable retrievable standard is the industry standard for poker now, and your hand seems to have fit that bill. Luckily, you were playing in a home game, and I don't know if you had a dealer there or not, but in a casino, if you do that, a dealer generally is going to make cards disappear. As soon as they go to the muck, they're going to be thoroughly mixed in so that no decisions are made. But in your case, you should have been able to play for the main pot. Again, you didn't protect your hand, and that is a much better argument to make for the all-in player. You weren't paying attention to the game and didn't realize the all-in player still had a hand, and it might have been hidden. I'll give you that benefit of the doubt. But still, your hand was live. You were in for all the possible bets. You should have been in contention for the main pot as well, and shouldn't merely lose it on a technicality that your hand touched other discards, even though it was easily identifiable by anyone else at the table.
And that's a good point. You know, the thing that ends up happening a lot of times, especially in home games, is everybody kind of, I don't know if I would say maybe just a little more relaxed and talking, and so they don't necessarily, it's easy to forget maybe that there's another player over there, but I think the main takeaway is always be paying attention and always protect your hand.
Yes, and paying attention is part of protecting your hand.
Yes,
because it's not just the cards we're talking about, it's also your place in the betting order and your place at the showdown. That is all part of protecting your hand. It is not merely protecting the two or more cards that have been dealt to you.
All right, Ozzy, the next time you're in that situation, hopefully you'll know better to make your case for that. But that's our Call the Floor. Remember, if you have a situation in your home game and you would like to know how Elliot would rule with it, send it to podcast@anteupmagazine.com. Until next time, thanks, Elliot.
Quite welcome. Good to see you, Joe.
Let's break it down with Hand of the Week.
All right, so here we are. I'm here with Tay Whiteside.
Hey, everybody. It's your favorite average, not so great poker player that you get to relate to for the Hand of the Week segment. Happy to be back. What do we got, Joe?
Hey, we got a hand this week. It's sent in by John Westmoreland, which is an incredible name.
It's a very classic, strong 90-degree angle name right there, you know?
Absolutely. So, John is he's playing cash, but he's playing 2-5.
It's my kind of game.
Yeah.
The accessible kind.
And he's got about $700. He says, I'm sitting on the button, and it folds to me with Queen of Hearts, Queen of Spades. What do you do? So
let me make sure I understand this correctly. We have a pair of queens, hearts, and spades. We're sitting on 700 cash. Small blinds 2, big blinds 5. So everything folds to us.
Yes, everything folded to us, and we're sitting on the dealer button.
So the blinds are still in.
Right. All we have is the small blind and big blind.
Got
left.
it. What do we do? I'm gonna play this, right?
Right.
I mean, I don't know what my bet would be. I need to put myself in the position of someone who's sitting on $700 that they're willing to get rid of.
So there's two schools of thought here, right?
Yeah.
Do we want to be up against the small blind and or big blind, or do we want to bet enough that we can get them out?
How much do we know about them
Well, that's unfortunate that we don't know.
Oh, this is the first round of betting, so we have no idea.
We don't really know anything. Exactly.
Got it.
So, in my opinion, I think I'm just gonna do a small-ish raise. That way, I can get at least maybe the big blind to call, get the small blind out.
Right.
But, so I think I'm just gonna make it 12, which is 2.5 times the big blind.
Yeah. I would do at least 10 because everything folded and the blinds are in because they had to be in. So we don't know that there's anything on the table yet. Right. All right. Well, in this case, what does John do?
So John says, I raised $20. So he was more inclined to try and get them out.
Yeah. That's like something you would do.
That's true.
You're aggressive. Yeah, that's great.
The small blind had been three betting me. I'm sorry. The small blind had been 3-betting me all night and 3-bets me again to $70.
So 3-betting is 3 rounds. He pushed you 2 more times on that first round of betting.
So a 3-bet. So if I raise, right, that's the second bet, right? So then a 3-bet is raising me.
He re-raises.
So then it would go 4-bet, then 5-bet, then et cetera, et cetera.
All pre-flop.
This is
aggressive.
pre-flop.
I don't like it.
You don't like it?
No. Well, I don't know. A pair of queens, okay, but you're getting 3-bet on that, and he does it again here to $70.
Right. He says, I believe this is the 4th time they 3-bet me. That would have been good information to know before we actually made our bet.
Well, that's like a part of this segment that's interesting because, like, when you've been playing, whenever these hands happen, you've been playing poker with whoever's at the table for some time.
Exactly.
And you know them. You've been looking at them. You've been listening to them. You've been betting against them.
Right.
That has a lot to do with how you act.
Absolutely.
Because poker's a very personal, mind game.
Yeah, the mind game. So it says they 3-bet me the 4th time, but they had not 3-bet anyone else.
It's personal.
So, yeah, it feels like it, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I shoot a glance at him, and he says, it's not just you. I really have had a hand each time.
This is the small blind saying this. And then the big blind folds.
Yep, the big blind folds.
Couldn't hang.
So what do we do with that? Well,
have they beat us every time they 3-bet us?
That's a good question.
Thank you.
Have they really had something? It sounds to me like when he says that, we haven't gotten to showdown, so we haven't seen their hands each time.
We're just getting bullied by this guy, basically.
It sounds like we need to make a stand, doesn't it?
All right. Yeah, what do you do, Joe? Do you get bullied? Have you been in this position?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I think if you've played poker long enough, you've been in just about every
right.
situation.
Yeah.
There's always something new. But we can go back to the same schools of thought, right? Do we want him to play, or do we want to try and fold him out, right? I feel like we've got a pair of queens, right? Kings and aces are the only hands right now that are beating us.
We got pocket queens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I mean, maybe you know the statistics, but the statistics of him having pocket kings or pocket aces is really low.
Yeah, not great. So I don't know that we need to announce how strong we are at this point, because if he's been pushing us around, maybe we just let him bluff at it a little bit.
Yeah,
and
good call.
So I think I just call.
And I, even as a less confident player, less experienced player, I think I would still call, because again, our stack's 700. 70 is a serious bet, but pocket queens, this level of poker, yeah, I'd call. I want to see it. There were probably less powerful hands, when he was betting us in the past, that we maybe didn't have the courage to see. But
right.
I got pocket queens. I want to see it.
Absolutely. All right, so what's he do?
All right, well, John, holding a premium hand and not wanting to back down again, I 4-bet to 175, and the big blind calls. The way this is written, it almost sounds like calls immediately.
Oh, it does sound that way. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
But it's interesting, because we were just talking about there's two different ways to go. We both just chose to call and see what happens. That puts 355 in the pot, and the flop is the ace of spades, 5 of spades, 2 of spades.
Good Lord. And we have the queen of spades in our hand.
We do. Queen of hearts, queen of spades. The small blind checks the monotone board.
Oh, so all of a sudden, they don't feel as aggressive. I mean, there's been a lot of blows pre-flop here. 355. That was half of our starting stack on the table. Before the flop.
Yeah. And we put in what, 175?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ace of spades, 5 of spades, 2 of spades. They check. What do we do? Gosh, my gut reaction, as the novice, is to, well, if there's an opportunity to play for free, let's play for free. But what would you do as the more experienced?
I mean, look, we've got second pair, right?
Mm-hmm.
The only thing he's beating us with right now is an ace, probably,
because there's an ace on the table. But he checks.
But yeah, he 3-bet us, then checks. So he's either giving us more rope,
right,
or he's
backing
not.
Off.
He's gonna back off. But
so
I feel like I can bet here if they come over the top. Meaning if they were to raise me,
mm-hmm.
If they were just waiting for us to bet and they're gonna come over the top, then I can fold at that point. But I think we're good. I think we're good here. So
let's hope that we're not overthinking it, right?
Right.
So what do you check as well?
No, I think if I think I'm going to bet, but if I bet small, I think he's going to see that as weakness, and he's going to bet big, right? So
because what he's thinking we might have a flush, right?
Maybe, yeah.
I mean that's what and maybe if I'm in his position, this hits the table, 3 spades. I have no spades, me meaning the guy John's playing against. Without trying to play mind games, that would be a reason to take your foot off the gas, right? That might be why he checked.
Sure.
But it's an interesting setup.
Yeah. So I think rather than trying to show weakness, I'm gonna step the foot on the gas, like you said.
Yeah.
I'm gonna bet 200.
Okay.
There's 355 in the pot, so a little more aggressive. So
yeah,
200.
That's like 60% right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, like I said, my gut said check. It makes sense why you did what you did, but let's just say I check. And then in this case, John chooses to check behind for pot control.
Okay. So
What is pot control again?
So he's trying not to get the pot super big. If you're checking for pot control specifically, then if the cards come out and you want to bet later, half pot on a $400 pot is $200, but if it's $600, now you're putting in another $300. So he's controlling that size for a bet later.
Right. Okay. So pot control just means like I see it. I'd like it to kind of stay in this region right now.
There's enough money in there for me for now.
Yeah. Right. I don't want to lose any more. The turn is the 7 of clubs, and he leads out for $150. What do you do? 7 of clubs doesn't help us at all.
I can't see where it should help him much either, though.
Right. He checked after the ace 5-2 suited, and then bets after a 7 of clubs.
So this is one of those things when you're playing a hand like this, where you said what you were going to do, but this person did something different. Now I have to play it from the way they were playing it. But I feel like if we would have made that bet, that $200 bet, we wouldn't be facing this $150 bet now. So
you regained some confidence.
Yeah.
I
still don't think I can fold, but I don't like it now.
No, it's a bit of back and forth now, right? It's sort of a little muddy.
What are they thinking we have? That's the question, right?
Yeah, what would I do? They hit $150 on the 7 of clubs. I mean, how much confidence do you have in that river spade?
Right.
You know?
Right. But I mean, honestly, I don't know that we need it.
We got a pair of queens.
Yeah.
Which is pretty high. So you call the 150? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I'm going to call it, but I'm going to do it under protest because I don't think we have to make this call if we bet on the flop.
Oh, right. You're saying in this current position you do it, but
yeah, I'm doing it under protest.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, you don't get to write these, Joe. These are sent in. Okay, you got to play along. Well, in this case, John has he goes, I have a spade, and there is still only one overcard, so I make the call. What does he mean by overcard?
One card that's over our queens.
The ace.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. So he calls with 655 now in the pot. The river is the king of clubs, and the small blind checks.
Now there's 2 over.
And everything's on the table.
Right.
At this point. And he checks a king.
Yeah.
So he doesn't have a king. That's what my brain goes.
He could. He definitely could have a king.
Why would he? I mean, there's so much.
Because he's still thinking, okay, if you have a flush, even if it's a baby flush, it beats him, right? So why do I need to put more money in?
We wouldn't have a flush though. If we had 2 clubs, even there's only 2 clubs on the table.
No. If we had the spades.
Oh, you're right.
So if we have that, even if it's maybe we had 6, 7 of spades, and
maybe that's why he checked after the flop.
Right. Thinking we could have had a baby flush.
Right.
Which is a reason to maybe try and go after it.
Yeah.
Try to
exploit his fear, basically.
Yeah,
that we might have a flush,
and hope that he doesn't have an ace or a king.
Which we're kind of confident he doesn't now, but
I kind of feel like maybe he has a smaller pair.
I read ahead and he doesn't. You want me to tell me what he has?
Yeah, tell us what he has.
It's pretty unfortunate. John, in this case, checked, and he turns over the king of spades and jack of hearts. He made his pair on the river.
Oh, yeah.
And leaves me with half my stack gone. John says, I top up my stack with another 200, but never get anything going after that hand and call it a night.
Yeah.
That's a lonely night in a hotel room right there.
Yeah. Again, if we make that bet on the flop, I think we probably end up taking that hand down.
Because the flop exposed the fear the most fear he probably ever had about us, the most worry, that potential.
What was his
flush.
king though?
King of spades, I think. King of spades and jack of hearts.
Okay, well maybe he doesn't go anywhere then because.
Oh, because he had a spade as well.
Yeah, he had a better spade than we did actually.
And that's why he checks on the river, the king of clubs. Because he was waiting for the river for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, he wanted to see what it was.
Had Jack King, but nothing.
Well,
what an interesting hand.
Yeah, I think in this case we. I don't know if there was really if that turns out any different either way.
Right.
Because I don't think he's going anywhere, even if he bets that 200 on the flop. So maybe John, you saved some money. There you go.
It may not seem like it. But maybe you did okay. You did better than I would have, man. But who knows? Poker's like what? 70% skill, 30% luck, or are those the opposite?
I like the 80-20 rule.
Yeah. I feel like the better you get at poker, the more that ratio spins, right? When you're new, it's sort of like maybe it's 50-50, or you feel like it's 50-50.
That may be true. I think that you learn to try to win the hand by beating your opponent rather than waiting for the best cards.
Which is right. That's a turning point in the poker player. Your weapons, right?
Right.
Instead of just reacting to the numbers, how can you beat the person across from you?
Exactly.
And it's sort of an emotional, statistical, like minefield that you have to navigate.
Absolutely. And then you end up 3 and 4 betting people because you feel like you have an edge.
And that confidence is a dangerous thing,
It can be.
Yeah. Well, thanks, John, for writing in.
Absolutely.
It's been a pleasure to live vicariously through you.
We do appreciate it. And if anybody else has any hands that they would like Tay and I to break down, you can always send them to podcast@anteupmagazine.com. Thanks, Tay.
Hey, thanks, Joe. Thank you, John. And thank you, everyone, for listening.
The question is, how you running?
Todd Lemansky is our ambassador for the LA area. Hey, Todd.
How's it going, Joe?
Hey, I know I had originally contacted you to be the ambassador for the Missouri area, but it just so happened you were out there in the LA area now. I'm so glad that you decided to help us out and cover the scene there. It seems like there's just tons of action out there. But before we get into any of that, my very first question to each of the ambassadors is always, how you running?
Well, to be honest, I had a really busy 2022, so I didn't play any live poker at all.
Wow.
And I lost every single World Cup bet that I made. Although, since the World Cup's over, I play on Bovada, and that's where I bet the games. I have recovered all of my lost bets through online cash games. So
there you go.
I guess the answer is I'm running well enough.
There you go. So you're the floor supervisor in the tournament department at the bike. So tell me and tell Ante Up Nation a little more about that.
All right. Well, my first dealing job was the 2012 WSOP. And then after that, I became a traveling circuit dealer. Did that for several years. And then I moved to Long Beach in 2015. I moved in with my girlfriend at the time, who's now my wife. And
so you're running really well.
Yeah. So then, so I basically moved here. I was a traveling circuit dealer for several years, and then I came here. I was still a traveling circuit dealer, but when I moved here in 2015, my friend Bob Smith got me on at the circuit event at the bike, and I just hit it off with everybody, and I stayed there. I started working every event all year, throughout the year, because I didn't have to travel and leave my girlfriend anymore. And over the years, I slowly phased out my traveling gigs. And then in 2018, they promoted me to floor supervisor. And then after the 2021 World Series, which I worked as a floor supervisor with my coworker, Jeff Thompson, I got back to the bike. And in the December 2021 event, I was the lead floor supervisor, what I have been since then. So
very nice.
I guess I've been a lead floor supervisor now for a little over a year.
Very nice. Well, everything I see is that the poker scene in LA looks like it is just insane. And when we talked before, you mentioned that the LA Poker Classic had kicked off at the Commerce, and it's going to be running through early March. What have you seen from that tournament?
Well, to be honest, I haven't made it over there just yet, but I was checking out some of the numbers, and they had some really they had a really big flight for their Big 50. They had like almost 3,100 entries, and I think it was a $200,000 prize pool, and it got up to like over $600K.
Nice.
I actually just looked at the schedule before I hopped in here with you. Today was $400 triple draw, which was on my list to play, and I missed it. But next on the 13th of February, they got another triple draw for $600, and then the mixed game championship starts on Sunday, and that one I'm definitely going to go check out.
Okay. What other kind of tournaments are running out there right now?
Oh my goodness. I think there's like 5 casinos here in Southern California that do poker. A couple of them don't have poker rooms. They just do like the Asian games and the blackjack and stuff. But generally speaking, there's only ever one tournament going on at a time in LA. They kind of do, the casinos do a pretty good job of not stepping on each other's toes. So like the LAPC is January, February. Then the WSOP circuit event at the bike will start in March and run into the beginning of April. And then usually like I think Hustler does something in April. And then like maybe the Gardens does something in May. And then we come back at the bike with a summer series. And then we do the Legends of Poker in August. But basically there's some sort of tournament series like pretty much all year long going on in LA. And you just the casinos are usually pretty good about not scheduling over each other too.
Well, that's good.
And we definitely have a great poker scene here. I mean, we're like the third largest city in the country, and there's tons of money here, and there's a lot of rich foreigners, you know, like Hollywood people. You know, there's a lot of money running through LA, so that doesn't hurt at all.
Well, here's what I would like to do. You know, today was a pretty good introduction to the scene there, and you as one of the ambassadors. I'd love to come back to you in a few weeks and catch up on how things are looking. The LA Poker Classic will be going strong at that point, and you can give us a report on that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Perfect. All right. Thank you, Todd. We'll come back to you in a few weeks.
All right. Thanks, Joe.
Next, let's go down to Florida. Bob Popper is our Midwest ambassador, but he happens to be down in Florida for a while, escaping the cold. So he has agreed to help us out while he's down there. Bob, thanks again for being able to give us the news on the poker scene there. I know you've got a lot to talk about, but before we get too far into that, how you running there in Florida?
Well, Joe, I'm glad to be here. I'm living the poker dream. I mean, it's all poker all the time down here, and if you can't find a game down here, shame on you. It's wonderful. I'm in a place called the Villages, a little bit northwest of Orlando, and you can find a game, 2 or 3 games here of Hold'em or Omaha every day. And, you know, there are 12.5 games a week. There are casinos down here now and poker rooms down here now that weren't here some years ago before they changed regulations. So it's actually fabulous down here. And I've been running pretty well. Some of the tournaments I've gone kind of deep in some and final table and cashed in. So I'm the best player in the world, but sometimes I hold my own. And again, there are a lot of older people down here, so I guess I fit in pretty well.
Well, you went down there to escape, I think, because from what I understand, the weather in Chicago is not very warm. How's the weather in Florida?
Well, I believe today it's going to be 83, then 78. A couple of very cold days, it's going to be in the upper 60s, and then it's going to get to the 80s again. While back home in Chicago, my lovely wife, who is staying there and holding down the fort, God bless her for doing that and letting me come down here, sent me pictures this morning of our patio and the lawn chairs and things out there and the grill with 4 inches of snow. And it's supposed to snow the next few days. And then next weekend, it's getting down to single digits. So I feel a little guilty being down here, but she's a Wisconsin girl, loves Wisconsin and doesn't mind the snow. And just kind of encourages me to come down here. So I'm a very lucky guy.
Yes, that's awesome. Well, I've yet to make it down to Florida to play any poker, but I hear it's a pretty good place to play. And maybe in the next couple of months, I plan on being down there, but tell me what I have to look forward to when I go.
Well, when you get down here, as of last summer, they had 29 poker rooms in Florida with over 400 tables. And they've opened up casinos now. They got away with or got around some regulations. There's some at dog parks, there's some at racetracks. There are poker rooms, and there are casinos that have opened up as well. So you've got a lot to look forward to and a lot to choose from.
A lot to take my time, huh? Well, tell me a little bit about some of the promotions and things that they've got going on there.
I'll just give you a handful of some of the premier poker rooms down here. Best Bet Poker in Jacksonville, so if you're going to stay up north, has over 70 tables out there now with daily tournaments and all those good things. And actually, they have Omaha and 7-card stud up there, which is, coming back now. Stud games are starting to come back.
That's unusual. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, it's, a lot of the players, of course, when the moneymaker craze started, it was all hold'em, hold'em, hold'em. And before that, most guys would play 5-card stud or 7-card stud. So that's starting to come back here. Hialeah Park Poker Room, that's kind of in a historic section down here, a Spanish influence. Hollywood Hard Rock has a lot of activity down there. There's a Hard Rock in Tampa as well that is relatively new and exquisite. I mean, it's a great place down there. Let's see what else. Palm Beach Kennel Club. So again, a lot of these places were built in the regulation time. I believe if you had a racetrack or a dog track or something like that, you could request a license for a poker room, and they did that. Ebro Park, Derby Lane. Ebro is actually a greyhound park. So there's a lot to choose from down here. And besides, like I said, where I am in the villages, I'm sure a lot of other places, I know a lot of other places have their private poker rooms as well.
Sure, yeah. And where you been playing the most?
I've been playing at a place called Oxford Downs. It's a racetrack where they now have, I believe, 24 or 28 poker tables and some of the, quote, carnival games as well. This is another place that is coming back with stud. They've got a 5-card stud game. They've got 7-card stud. They've got Omaha High-Low, besides Hold'em. What I call the carnival games, they've got 3-card poker and crazy poker and high flush and ultimate Texas Hold'em and those kinds of things that attract a lot of people.
Well, that's all good stuff there too, but I do want to make one more pivot before I let you go. I know that there's a charity back home in Chicago that's important to you, and it sounds like something that our listeners would want to know about too. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's a charity poker championship by Camp One Step. If people are looking to save the date, this year it's Thursday, April 20th. And it starts at 6 o'clock downtown Chicago at Galleria Marchetti. It's they raise funds for kids with cancer. And as last year, Dan Bernstein from the Score Radio, if you're from the area, you probably know Dan from the Score, is going to MC the event. They are starting registration February 1st. And the first 100 players to register are going to get a free 5,000 chip add-on, which doubles their chips. It's like $100 value. And if you want to register, you can text to 76278 COS Poker. You can go from there. The raffle, you can go to their website, which is cospoker.givesmart.com. You can enter that way. It's just first class, top class all the way. It costs about $1,000 to send a kid to camp, and what they do in their fundraising, last year they raised about $150,000. And all of their overnight camps, the day camp, the digital programs, resources, and everything are free for families. And that's just a fabulous thing. Again, they do it first class and top notch. And anybody that's interested in winning first prize, the grand prize is a seat at the World Series of Poker main event in Vegas.
Nice.
With travel expenses and accommodations, the $10,000 value included. So that's something kind of neat. I attended last year. I volunteered as a dealer, and the food, the ambiance, everything they include there. Actually, they're going to have a solo stove this year. I'm an old guy. I don't know what that is, but I'm sure some of the younger people know that. That's one of the crazes this year. They're also going to have a high-end whiskey sampling table. It's just a fabulous thing, and it's a great event, and I hope our listeners will get out there and support it this year.
Well, it sounds like it's for a great cause. It sounds like it's a lot of fun. And you said registration begins February 1st. The first 100 people, is that right, that get an extra 5,000 chips?
Yep, first 100 people will get the double the chips. They also have a high roller table where it's $700. I think the buy-in this year is going to be $300, and it's a $700 ticket. The high roller room is limited to 30 players, and last year they had a waiting line to get into this. So that just tells you how great it was and how important it was to our Chicago area players. They had to turn people away to this $700 room. They're going to take 3 people from the limit of 30 players and have them move on to the final table. So it's just wonderful. Jason Finn, actually, who worked with Kirk Falla from Windy City Poker. I'm sure the Midwest people know who both of those gentlemen are.
Right.
Got me involved with it last year. He's going to be involved with it again this year. And again, I would encourage people to at least look, go to the website, cospoker.givesmart.com. Look at what they have to offer. I think there are going to be some other enticements coming out as well. So, stay tuned and just follow their website and keep listening to us about it.
That sounds great. Well, thank you again, Bob. I appreciate all you're doing down there. But listen, hey, Bob's not going to be in Florida forever. So at some point after the Colds left there, he's going to be going back home to Chicago. So if any listeners are interested in taking over the ambassador duties around Florida, email the show at podcast@anteupmagazine.com.
It's time for Joe's One Outer.
Some controversy happened at the WSOP circuit event at King's Casino in Rozvadov, Czech Republic. And honestly, I probably allowed this situation to occupy more space in my brain than it really should, but it seems to me like the perfect moral dilemma. Here's what happened. Pierre Cowart was all in with Jack 10 against his opponent's King Jack. Pretty bleak to say the least. However, the board ran out with what should have been a split pot with jacks and sixes and an ace kicker. Only no one seems to realize that, and Cowart was eliminated. This is where things get a little sticky in my mind. 4 other players at the table didn't notice the error? These are skilled poker players who know how to read the board. However, they all did just make an extra 13,100 euro with that pay jump. I'm not going to go so far as to say they all chose to keep quiet to get the extra money, but it leads me to think about this like one of those "What Would You Do" segments that used to run on ABC. My hope is to be someone you'd be happy to share a table with. However, when the cards are in the air and the chips are flying, that can be a different story. I mean, if you've played me, I've 3-bet you. If you've 3-bet me, I've probably 4-bet you. When it comes to poker being played, it's dog eat dog, and I expect you to play the same against me. Unfortunately, it's hard for some to distinguish how to play tough and keep a moral compass. Anyone can sit down and play, and anyone can win. We refer to it as a gentleman's game. We all want to win. We want to outthink and outplay every opponent. But this game is played with real money. So it becomes even more important to remember that to play your best is playing with integrity. In the past, poker had a reputation as a roguish game, played by people with little or no scruples. Over the years, that seems to have changed. Don't get me wrong. There are still players like this who exist, because there are still people like this that exist. They rely on things like shooting angles, and they're just not good for the game. Ironically, they end up killing their own action a lot of times by breaking the games. In actuality, poker is a competition held together by players' integrity to the game and each other. Our own adherence to the heart of the game is what makes it so great. So if you're at the table and you see something that doesn't seem quite right, just say something. Oh, and also be sure to thank the players and casino staff who continue to provide a positive environment for us all to play poker. That's today's One Outer, and that's today's show. See you next time, A-Team. And until then, I'll see you at the tables.
The Ante Up Podcast is a production of AnteUpMagazine.com. Contact the show at podcasts@anteupmagazine.com or call the show at 540-339-7741. If you'd like to advertise, send an email to editor@anteupmagazine.com.